How did fjords appear in Arabia, where cliffs rise 2,000 meters out of the water and villages are nestled between the bay and a sheer wall? How does one country manage to encompass monsoon forests, snowy gorges, deserts, underground canals, and ocean shipyards? Why does Oman hold on to the khanjar, frankincense, dough, rosewater, and mountain terraces, while the rest of the Gulf builds glass cities? This is Amin. Here, Arabia looks different than it does in the news. The geography works like 5 different worlds pressed up against each other. In the north, the Muscat Peninsula is cut by fjords up to 2,000 meters high. Cliffs rise straight out of the water. The villages between them are only accessible by boat. In the central Hajar Mountains, stone terraces have lasted for 500 years. Roses, pomegranates, almonds, and grapes grow on them. The petals are distilled in traditional clay pots using 15th century techniques. In the south, in the Dhofar province, the Kharif monsoon arrives from June to September. Within 2 weeks, the dry desert is covered with green grass, waterfalls appear, and fog settles over the mountains. In the Wahiba Desert, the dunes reach a height of 100 meters. Bedouins migrate between seasonal wells. Every night, the wind erases the road between camps. On the coast in the city of Sur, shipyards continue to build wooden dhow boats without blueprints, relying on memory, with the craft passed down from father to son. These same boats, in the 19th century, upheld Oman's trading empire from Zanzibar to India. 309,000 square kilometers of land, about 4.5 million people. The longest coastline along the Indian Ocean on the Arabian Peninsula. A border with Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and Yemen. The strategic Strait of Hormuz at its northern tip. Oman's neighbors were building skyscrapers, shopping malls, and artificial islands. Oman invested in ports, crafts, neutrality, and ancient mountain water systems. An Omani man wears a khanjar, a curved dagger in a silver sheath, on his belt. On Oman's red and white flag, 2 crossed khanjars are depicted, the country's main symbol. The khanjar is an L-shaped knife. The blade is about 20 centimeters long. The curve is sharp, almost at a right angle in the upper third. The blade is made of Damascus steel and sharpened on only one side. The tip is sharp and the cutting edge is thin. The knife hangs on the belt as a ceremonial item. Every man in Oman wears a khanjar at weddings, celebrations, when receiving guests, and at state ceremonies. A man does not appear in official settings without a khanjar. It's like a tie in Europe, only heavier, more expensive, and older. The main thing about the khanjar is the sheath and the handle. They are more expensive than the blade itself. The handle is made from rhinoceros horn, buffalo horn, or sandalwood. The most expensive khanjars have handles made from giraffe horn. The sheath is decorated with silver filigree. Thin wires twisted into tiny patterns, dots, flowers, and geometric shapes. A single khanjar contains up to 10 meters of silver thread. Master jewelers work in Nizwa and Bala. The craft is passed down in the family from father to son. It takes several months of work to make one khanjar. The price ranges from $300 for a simple knife to $10,000 for a ceremonial one with a handle made from antique material. Buying a khanjar is a duty for an Omani family when their son gets married. A young man receives his first dagger on his wedding day. From that moment on, he wears it at every celebration for the rest of his life and passes it on to his son. Today, khanjars are made for 2 markets. The domestic market is for Omanis to use at ceremonies, and the external market is for tourists as souvenirs. Souvenir ones are cheaper, have less silver, and the handle is made of plastic that looks like horn. A real khanjar can be recognized by its weight. You can immediately feel the heaviness of the filigree silver. In the 21st century, many neighboring Gulf countries have switched to Western dress codes. Businessmen wear suits, diplomats wear ties. Oman has preserved its tradition, a long white robe called a dishdasha down to the ankles, a headpiece, either a kuma or a musar, and a khanjar at the waist. The Musandam Peninsula, at the very north of Oman, is separated from the main part of Oman by a strip of the United Arab Emirates about 100 kilometers long. Geologically, Musandam is a continuation of the Hajar Mountains that extends into the Indian Ocean. Cliffs rise straight out of the water to heights of up to 2,000 meters, with narrow, winding inlets between them stretching up to 30 kilometers long. The waters are deep and dark blue. From a certain angle, the peninsula looks like a piece of Norway transplanted into Arabia. The climate is almost the polar opposite of the rest of Arabia. The water temperature is 20 degrees Celsius in winter and 34 in summer. The air is humid because of the proximity to the strait. The villages of Kumzar and Sabia are located on the shores of narrow bays. Stone houses cling to the base of the cliffs. Behind the houses, there's a sheer wall rising to the sky. In front of them, water. There's no land for a garden. The only way to get here is by boat. Kumzar has about 5,000 residents. They speak their own language, Kumzari, a mix of Persian, Arabic, Balochi, and several borrowings from English and Portuguese. Linguists consider Kumzari to be one of the most unusual languages on the planet. Life for the people of Kumzar is organized by the seasons. All summer, they live in Musandam, fishing and trading. In winter, they move to a small village on the mainland where there's fresh water and seasonal date groves. Schooling dolphins live in the coastal waters of Musandam. They swim up to the fishing boats every morning, about 15 to 20 of them at a time. The young fishermen greet them like old friends. About 20% of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz at the northern tip of Musandam every day. Tankers travel with cargo from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, and Iran. From the coast of Musandam, you can see them as black silhouettes on the horizon. Local fishermen and small boats work alongside this stream of tankers. A 300-meter-long tanker passes by a 5-meter-long fishing motorboat. Two worlds on the same water. Salalah, June. A humid fog from the Indian Ocean settles over the dry mountains of Dhofar. The Dhofar region is in the far south of Oman, near the border with Yemen, about 2,000 kilometers from Muscat. The main city is Salalah. From June to September, Dhofar turns into a different country. The monsoon from the Indian Ocean blows onto the coast. The temperature drops from 45 degrees Celsius to 20. The dry brown mountains become covered in thick green grass in just 2 weeks. Waterfalls appear in places where, for the other 9 months, there are none. Rivers flow through beds that remain dry the rest of the year. The air becomes as humid as in the tropics. This phenomenon is called harith, which means autumn in Arabic. But according to the calendar, it's summer. There are no other places on the Arabian Peninsula with a monsoon climate. Harith only happens in Dhofar because the monsoon winds from the Indian Ocean hit the Dhofar Mountains and release their moisture. While the rest of Arabia is suffocating from the heat, hundreds of thousands of tourists from Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and Qatar come to Salalah. About 1 million people visit during the season. They sleep in tents in the mountains, walk in the rain, and take pictures of waterfalls. For most of them, it's their first time experiencing real rain and lush greenery. Hotel prices in Salalah skyrocket fivefold. The airport is operating at full capacity. Flights are packed. The local people of Dhofar are descendants of the Jabali, a tribe that speaks its own language, Shari or Jabali. Shahari belongs to the South Arabian languages and preserves a layer of the region's pre-Islamic history. The people of Dhofar grow what you can only find in supermarkets elsewhere in Arabia: coconuts, bananas, papayas, and mangoes. Fields stretch along the coastline. After the Kharif season, the harvest goes to local markets into Muscat. A special product of Dhofar is camels. They're different here. The green grass makes them bigger and healthier than the camels of Desert Arabia. After the Kharif season, Dhofari camels are exported for sale to Saudi Arabia and the Emirates. A single breeding camel can cost up to $50,000. On Jebel Akhdar, stone terraces have held the soil on the slopes for hundreds of years. The Jebel Akhdar Mountains stretch across central Oman. The name translates as Green Mountain. The elevation's about 2,000 meters. Each terrace is narrow, about 2 to 3 meters wide. Between the terraces are stone walls up to 1.5 meters high, built without mortar. The walls hold the soil and regulate water runoff. On the terraces grow pomegranates with dark red fruit, almonds, grapes, apricots, walnuts, and damask roses. The main product of Jebel Akhdar is rosewater. Damask roses bloom for 2 to 3 weeks in April. They go out to collect the petals at dawn, before the sun raises the temperature. A late harvest will ruin the fragrance. The petals are brought to family workshops and placed in traditional clay distillation pots called dajan. The pot is set over a fire and a copper tube is attached on top. The petals are covered with water. The water boils, steam passes through the petals, carries away the aromatic oils, and then condenses in the tube. From 1 ton of petals, only a few liters of rosewater are produced. Production has followed the same method for 500 years. Clay pots, copper tubes, and firewood as fuel. Rosewater is used in cooking, cosmetics, and religious rituals. It's added to halva, coffee, and sweets. It's poured on guests' hands as a perfume. A liter of genuine Jebel Akhdar rosewater costs about $50. Villages on the slopes of the mountains, Al Ain, Saik, Sharaja. Each has about 100 to 200 residents. The houses are made of stone, 2 or 3 stories high, with narrow stairways between them. The courtyards have old pomegranate trees. Young people from the mountain villages move to Muscat, study at universities, and work in the oil industry and government institutions. The elders hold on to their terraces. Family workshops for distilling rosewater are slowing down more and more. There's no one to pick the petals. The government pays subsidies to families who continue traditional farming. This helps, but it doesn't stop the process. In another generation, many terraces could become overgrown if no young hands appear. Jebel Shams, 3,004 meters. Stone houses stand at the edge of the canyon, the highest peak in Oman. The name translates as Mountain of the Sun. Near the summit, there's a drop into the Wadi Shab Canyon, about 1 kilometer deep. The canyon walls are vertical. The color of the rock is gray, ochre, and reddish limestone. The canyon is called the Grand Canyon of Arabia. In size, it's comparable to the American Grand Canyon, about 20 kilometers long. Right on the edge of the cliff stands the village of Al-Khatam. Stone houses are built just a few meters from the abyss. The door of one of the houses opens directly onto the edge. If you step too far, it's a kilometer drop with nothing to stop you. There are just over 10 families left in Al-Khatam with a population of about 50 people. The young people have left for Nizwa, Bala, and Muscat down below. The elders stay because people here simply don't leave. The residents raise goats with herds of 10 to 15 animals. The goats graze on narrow goat trails along the edge of the cliff. A young goat can jump from ledge to edge, even if they're only as wide as 2 palms. Falls are almost unheard of. The main craft of the village is carpet weaving. The women at Al Cotton weave wool carpets with patterns of red, black, and orange stripes. The pattern is repetitive and geometric. A single carpet, measuring 1 meter by 1.5, takes about 2 months to make. The carpets are sold in Nizwa and Badla. Some go to government souvenir programs, while others are bought by tourists. In winter, there's snow year. The temperature drops to -5 degrees. Stone houses are heated with firewood and dry goat dung. The windows are small and the walls are about 1/2 meter thick. It stays warm inside. In summer, the temperature rises to +30 degrees. It's cooler than in the valleys below, where it's 45 degrees. The road to the village winds up from sea level to 2,000 meters, a 25-kilometer climb. In a truck, it takes about an hour. The vehicle needs to be 4-wheel drive. Regular cars can't make it to the top. Electricity was brought to Al Khatma in the 2000s. Before that, light came from kerosene lamps. Cell service is spotty. There's almost no internet. Wadi Shab cuts through the limestone in a narrow water corridor. Oman has about 2,000 wadis, dried up or seasonal mountain riverbeds. Most wadis are dry for 9 months of the year. A few flow year-round. Wadi Shab is located on the eastern coast, about 140 kilometers southeast of Muscat. Fresh water flows along the bottom all year long. The canyon walls rise 100 to 200 meters high. The rock is a light gray limestone with dark veins. The distance between the canyon walls at the narrowest point is about 20 meters. To reach the upper part of Wadi Shab, you need to walk about 2 kilometers along a trail by the water. In some places, the trail goes over flat stones above the water. In others, it leads right into the river, and you have to walk knee-deep in water. In the upper part of the canyon, there's a system of 3 emerald pools. The water is clear, with a temperature about 24 degrees. You can see small stones and algae on the bottom. A cave leads into one of the canyon walls. You can only enter it by swimming through a narrow stone passage about 50 centimeters wide. You have to keep your head above water and squeeze your body through sideways. After about 20 seconds, the passage leads into a large cave with an underground waterfall about 5 meters high. Inside is dark with acoustics like a church. Local people have been walking through these canyons for centuries. In the upper part of Wadi Shab and the neighboring Wadi Tiwi, date palms and stone dwellings still stand to this day. The older generation remembers a time when they would hike up here on foot, carrying food and empty water containers. 40 kilometers north of Wadi Shab, there's another water anomaly. Near the village of Bima, a round sinkhole called Hawiyat Naj gapes in the flat ground. It is about 50 meters in diameter, and the depth to the water is 20 meters. At the bottom, there's turquoise, brackish, fresh water. This is a karst sinkhole. Thousands of years ago, underground water dissolved the limestone, forming a cave. The cave ceiling collapsed. That created the sinkhole. A network of tunnels stretches beneath the Hajar Mountains. The depth ranges from 5 to 50 meters underground. The length of each tunnel ranges from several hundred meters to dozens of kilometers. There are more than 4,000 of them in Oman. This is the afflage system, traditional irrigation channels. The word afflage is the plural of falaj. One falaj is one churro. The technology came to Oman more than 1,500 years ago. According to one version, it came from Persia. According to another, it developed locally on the Arabian Peninsula. The principle is simple. In the mountains, there's an aquifer, groundwater at a certain depth. From this layer, a tunnel is dug to the settlement in the valley. The tunnel slopes about 1 meter for every 1,000 meters of length. The water flows by gravity, without pumps, without evaporation. The tunnels were dug by hand, pickaxe, hammer, chisel, and lightened from a candle or a kerosene lamp. Every 20 to 30 meters, workers would dig a vertical shaft upward for air, for removing debris and for maintenance. From above, these shafts look like a row of round pits about 1 meter in diameter lined up across the surface. The construction of a single falaj would take decades. Some of the falaj in Oman were built in the 6th to 8th centuries. They are still functioning to this day. At the tunnel's exit, the water flows into open stone channels. Through these channels, it is distributed among fields, mosques, and homes. First, the water passes through the mosque for ritual ablution, then through household points, and only after that does it go to the fields. Each family in the village has the right to water at a specific time of day. Turns are measured not by hours, but by the shadow of the sun's disk during the day or by the position of the stars at night. There is a position called the Arif, the water overseer. He keeps the water schedule book and resolves disputes. 5 aflaj are included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. Without the aflaj, there would be no villages in the mountains, no date palms in the valleys, and no life in most of Oman. In the 21st century, some villages switched to modern pumps and pipelines. In some places, the old aflaj have become shallow because underground water is being depleted by modern extraction. In the mountain regions, the aflaj still function as the foundation of life. On the slopes of Dhofar, a harvester makes a shallow cut in the bark of the boswellia tree. Frankincense is the hardened resin of the boswellia sacra tree. The tree is not tall, about 5 to 7 meters high. The bark is gray and knobby, and the tree grows in several regions of the world: Yemen, Somalia, and Dhofar in southern Oman. Frankincense from Dhofar was considered the highest quality in the ancient world. In antiquity, a kilogram of frankincense cost as much as a kilogram of gold. It was bought by Egypt, Rome, Greece, India, and China. Kings used frankincense for embalming the dead, priests for rituals in temples, and merchants for perfumery and medicine. Caravans of camels traveled along the frankincense route across all of Arabia. The route went from Dhofar to Petra and from Petra to Gaza, Alexandria, and Damascus. A single journey took about 100 days. In Dhofar, the ruins of the city of Ubar have been preserved, a former ancient stopover on the frankincense route, which was swallowed by the sands around the 3rd century AD. The city was discovered in 1992 using satellite images. Excavations revealed an octagonal fortress and warehouses for frankincense. The harvester approaches the boswellia tree at the beginning of the dry season, makes a shallow horizontal cut in the bark with a knife, and a white drop of resin oozes out from the cut. After 2 or 3 weeks, the drop hardens into a solid chunk. The harvester returns, scrapes the hardened drops into a leather bag, and makes new cuts above or below the old ones. One tree yields from 100 grams to 1.5 kilograms of frankincense per season. The best frankincense is transparent green or light amber. The average quality is white or yellow, and the lowest quality is brown with bits of bark mixed in. The grades are named by color and purity: Hajari, Najdi, Sha'ari, Shazri. At the Mutra market in Muscat, frankincense is sold in small paper packets. The price per kilogram ranges from $20 to $200, depending on the grade. The highest grade, Hajari from the mountain forests of Dhofar, can go up to $500. Every Omani home has a copper or clay incense burner called a mubkara. Charcoal is placed at the bottom with a few pieces of frankincense on top. Smoke with a thick, sweet, resinous aroma rises up through the room. The hostess walks around with the incense burner to all the guests, and each person wafts the smoke with their hands, passing it over their clothes and hair. In an Omani home, the guest is first served kahwa, a light drink almost like green tea. The beans are roasted briefly, sometimes not roasted at all. Ground cardamom is added to the finished drink and sometimes rose water or saffron. Kahwa is served in small cups without handles. The volume is about 50 milliliters. The cup is held in the right hand. The host pours only halfway up the cup. This is a sign of respect. A full cup means the guest is being rushed to leave. After the first sip, the host refills the cup. After the second, again, and on the third or fourth, the guest should gently shake the cup from side to side. This is the signal that it's enough. Without shaking, the host will keep pouring endlessly. It's impossible to refuse the first cup. That will be a serious insult to the host. Even if the guest doesn't drink coffee, they take the cup and have at least one sip. Halva is served with the karfi. Omani halva is a sticky, thick mass, different from the dry, hard halva of Turkey or the Levant. Its color ranges from golden to dark amber. The ingredients of halva are wheat starch, sugar, ghee, saffron, rose water, nuts, with cardamom added, and sometimes black pepper. The best halva is made in Nizwa. Family workshops stir the halva for 6 hours in large copper cauldrons over a fire. One person constantly stirs the mixture with a wooden paddle. Without stirring, the halva will burn on the bottom. The finished halva is poured into a round copper dish and sprinkled on top with nuts, almonds, walnuts, pistachios. It is placed on the table in front of the guests. Halva is eaten with the fingers of the right hand from a shared dish. Each person takes a piece about the size of a walnut. The left hand is not used. This is an Islamic rule about cleanliness. In Oman, halva is part of the welcoming ritual. It is included as a must-have, along with coffee and incense. Hospitality in Oman is a family duty. A stranger who arrives in a mountain village is given coffee, halva, lunch, and a place to stay for the night. No questions about money, no conditions. This tradition in Arabia is called diyaf, and Oman still works to this day. In neighboring Gulf countries, the hotel industry and oil money have almost erased the tradition of diyaf. In Dubai, a stranger goes to a hotel, in Oman to the first house they come across. The Wahiba Desert, or Wahiba Sands, lies in the east of Oman. It's about 180 kilometers long, around 80 kilometers wide, and covers 12,500 square kilometers. The dunes of Wahiba reach up to 100 meters high. The color of the sand ranges from golden in the east to dark red in the west. Between the dunes are narrow valleys where you can drive a car. The main characteristic of the desert is constant movement. Winds from the Indian Ocean coast blow all year round. Sand is carried from one dune to another in just a few days. A road laid between two camps yesterday can be completely erased by morning, leaving no trace. In Wahiba, Bedouins from two tribes live, Al-Wahiba and Al-Busaid. About 2,500 people migrate between seasonal wells. There are about 20 wells in the desert. Each well is between 15 and 40 meters deep. A Bedouin dwelling is a low tent made of black goat hair, about 10 meters long, 4 meters wide, and about 2 meters high in the middle. The walls are blown through by the wind. This cools the air inside the tent by 5 to 7 degrees compared to the outside temperature. Each Bedouin family owns between 20 and 100 camels. The herd is their main wealth. A racing camel can cost up to $1 million at international auctions. A camel for milk and meat costs about $2,000. Transportation between camps is an old Toyota Land Cruiser with deflated tires. The tire pressure is lowered to 1.5 to 2 bars so the vehicle doesn't sink into the sand. An experienced driver navigates the dunes by following the shape of the ridge, by the sun, and by the stars at night. In Wahiba, summer temperatures reach 50 degrees Celsius, while at night and winter it drops to around 0. The Bedouins sleep on carpets right on the sand. The sand under the carpet heats up during the day and keeps warm until morning. Food: camel and goat milk, cheese made from this milk, Arabic bread, dates, rice with meat. There are no fresh vegetables. Water is conserved for food, for washing, and for the camels. The youth of Al-Wahiba study at schools in the villages of Bidia and Mudaira on the edge of the desert. At home, it is the parents and the older generation who continue the nomadic lifestyle. In 20 or 30 years, this way of life may disappear. For now, it still exists. Shah. A teak keel for a future dhow lies on the sand. The city of Sur is on the eastern coast of Oman, about 150 kilometers southeast of Muscat. The population is about 120,000 people. For centuries, Sur has been the center of traditional Arab dhow shipbuilding. The word dhow refers to an entire class of vessels with a slanted lateen sail, a long keel, and a high stern. Dhows were built in many ports of the Arabian Peninsula. Sur remains the last place where they're still made using the old methods. The wood for the dhows is brought from India, teak for the hull, sometimes sow, sometimes rosewood. The length of a single dhow ranges from 15 to 30 meters, with a carrying capacity from 50 to 500 tons. There are no blueprints. The technique is passed down from father to son, orally and through hands-on work. The master starts with the keel, laying a long wooden beam directly on the slipway on the sand, then places the frames, curved ribs of the hull, on top. The frames are bent with steam, heating them in a special furnace. The hull planks are fastened to the frames with wooden pegs. Nails are not used. Seawater corrodes iron in 10 years. At the joints, they caulk with tarred ropes made from coconut fiber. Building a single dhow takes from 6 months to 2 years. The cost ranges from $100,000 to several $1,000,000, depending on the size. From the 9th to the 19th century, Omani merchants maintained a trading network in the Indian Ocean from East Africa to East India. The main goods were cloves, ivory, dates, frankincense, and slaves. In 1840, Sultan Said bin Sultan moved the Omani court from Muscat to Stone Town, the old city on the island of Zanzibar off the east coast of Africa. Zanzibar became the capital of the Omani Empire for 16 years, until 1856. To this day, there are Omanis of Swahili descent living in Muscat, about 50,000 people. They speak Swahili at home. Grandmothers cook Zanzibar-style pilau with cloves and cardamom. At weddings, the Ngoma drum is played together with Arabic tablas. Today, there are only 3 or 4 shipyards left in Sur that still build dhows using the old methods. Most of Oman's fishing boats are now modern fiberglass vessels with outboard motors. In another generation, the traditional craft may disappear. Muscat spreads out low, white buildings, ochre walls, mountains at its back, and the sea in front of the city. The capital of Oman. The population is about 1.5 million people. The city stretches in a narrow strip between the Black Hajar Mountains and the waters of the Gulf of Oman. The city runs about 50 kilometers along the coast, and in some places is less than a kilometer wide. All buildings in Muscat are no taller than 6 stories. This was a decision made by Sultan Qaboos, in effect since the 1970s. The law remains in place even after his death. In neighboring Dubai, there's the Burj Khalifa, which stands at 828 meters tall. In Muscat, the tallest building is the 14-story Crown Plaza Hotel. The difference in approach is obvious at first glance. Qaboos bin Said came to power in 1970, peacefully removing his father, Said bin Taimur. The old sultan was an isolationist. Before 1970, Oman had 3 schools, 1 hospital, and about 10 kilometers of paved roads. Radios, glasses, and bicycles were banned. Qaboos ruled for 50 years, until his death in 2020. In half a century, he transformed a closed medieval country into a modern state, without major wars, without terrorist groups, and without aggressive conflicts with his neighbors. Oman's strategy under Qaboos was neutrality and maintaining relations with everyone. When wars were raging in the region, Oman remained the only country that all sides would listen to. During the negotiations between the United States and Iran over the nuclear agreement, Oman secretly brought the delegations together. In the Yemeni conflict, Oman remained open to all sides. When it came to hostage exchanges between different groups in the region, the mediators were from Muscat. In the 1990s, when neighboring Kuwait was occupied by the Iraqi army, Oman refused to join the military coalition and opened its ports for humanitarian aid. In 2003, when the United States invaded Iraq, Oman once again stayed on the sidelines and maintained relations with everyone. Qaboos did not leave a direct heir. Power passed to his cousin Haytham, who continues the same policy of neutrality. Old Muscat, much report. The covered market sells frankincense, silver, fabrics, and spices. The Sultan Qaboos Grand Mosque features a carpet that's 4,200 square meters. The carpet was woven by 1,600 women from Iran over the course of 4 years. The mosque is open to non-Muslims. Oman's neighbors have followed a similar path. Dubai built the Burj Khalifa. Doha built 8 air-conditioned football stadiums in the desert for the 2022 World Cup. Riyadh began construction of the linear city of Neom, costing $500 billion. They all have glass, steel ambition and are betting on the tourism of the future. Oman chose a different path. Oman's oil will run out around the 2050s. The reserves are modest, about 5 billion confirmed barrels, 10 times less than the United Arab Emirates and 40 times less than Saudi Arabia. Oman knows this. Oman is investing in ports. Duqm in the south is the largest port under construction in the region. Sohar in the north is a hub for trade with Iran, India, and East Africa. The strategy, Oman is a hub of the Indian Ocean, bypassing the Strait of Hormuz. It's the same strategy as that of the empire of Said Said in the 19th century. Young Omanis study in Nizwa, Muscat, and Dakhiliyah. Some go abroad to London, Dubai, and Singapore. Some stay and try to preserve traditional crafts. The government pays families in the mountains so they don't abandon the terraces. It pays the shipyards in Suar for every dhow they build and pays the Wahiba Bedouins for their pastures. This only works halfway. The roses of Jebel Akhdar bloom, khanjars shine with silver, dhows are launched into the water, and the potters of Bala keep working. But every year, there are fewer young people in these crafts. Oman's population is young. More than half of the people are under 30. These young people are at a crossroads. Should they go into oil and government jobs, head to Dubai or Singapore for higher salaries, or return to the family trade for government subsidies? The village on the slope of Jebel Akhdar is becoming deserted. 12 out of 50 houses are boarded up. The shipyard in CERN now builds 1 dhow a year instead of 3 like in the 80s. At the Bedouin camp in Wahiba, only 1 family remains out of the 4 that lived here 20 years ago. A silver khanjar on the belt. rose petals in a clay jar, a drop of resin on the bark of a boswellia tree, a cup of kawa filled only halfway, a dough plank fastened with a wooden peg, a stone terrace on the slope of Jebel Akhdar, a well in Wahiba, water running underground through the falas. Geography. Oman's geography has carved the country into fjords, desert, a monsoon south, mountain terraces, and ocean ports. For centuries, people have lived on each piece of this land and practiced their own crafts. Oman keeps its past not museums, but in the hands of its people. The question is, how many of those hands will remain in 20 years?